Can a $300 micro brand watch compare to a $3,000 timepiece? Welcome to another episode of Ghost Watches. I'm Casper, and this is our head-to-head comparison. Jumping straight into the differences and similarities between these two, we're looking, of course, here at the vintage diver with its thin bezel, durable, waterproof resistance. The About Vintage 1926 at sea is under $400. The Oris Diver 65. This is the timeless luxury watches limited edition. It comes in just under $3,000 with all the bracelets and straps and accessories that you can get with it. Both of these watches share an almost identical case size and proportion. They have a 39mm case diameter, but their bezels jut out an extra half inch on each side, therefore making the actual watch face somewhere close to 40mm. Both have cases without crown guards, making their screw-down crowns a prominent design feature on their sides. The Oris has a 10mm case and bezel height, with the double-domed sapphire crystal jutting out an extra 3mm. The About Vintage 1926 at sea has an 11mm case and bezel height, with the slightly domed sapphire crystal jutting out approximately a millimeter. Taking a closer look at the Oris, they slimmed down the actual side profile of the watch and allowed some of the height for the case movement to be taken up by the back. So when it sits on your wrist, it actually appears to be a little bit lower than the About Vintage watch. Here, majority of the case height is shown on the case. The back is actually slightly thinner. It has a more prominent look on wrist. Looking closer at the dials, we see similar design language in the handset and the hour markers. The About Vintage watch has a unique dual height where most of the hour markers sit on top of the dial and the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock sit sandwiched below the dial. The Oris, on the other hand, has beautiful rose gold applied indices and hands coming together nicely with the bronze bezel. The Oris bezel has a noticeable wobble when you rock it back and forth. This is a characteristic of a lot of Oris watches, and especially the Diver 65. To be perfectly honest, the feeling of turning the bezel, though, is much more satisfactory than that on the About Vintage. You get a very machine gun feeling, feels surgical. The Oris bezel has more organic feel. I do like this bezel. I think it's a great quality, but I prefer the Oris. Powering the Oris is a Sellita SW200 automatic movement, as opposed to the About Vintage, which is running a Seiko VH31 quartz movement. This quartz is actually special in that it ticks 8 times per second, giving the illusion of a smooth, sweeping hand. But look closer and you can see the difference between a mechanical and a quartz movement. So which one is right for you? Well, here are my 3 tips for collecting any kind of watch. First, buy it because you like it, not because someone tells you to. At the end of the day, watches are a personal, subjective experience. We're looking at aesthetics. Honestly, it's art. Then look at quality, not quantity. And here's what I mean by that. We live in a disposable society. Look for things that last. Don't just chase after the quantity or the price point, be it low or high. Instead, learn what brings quality to the value proposition. For me, it's the craftsmanship, it's the proportions, it's the construction. And lastly, stay within your means. Most times, waiting a little bit longer to save enough for the right thing is more gratifying and costs a whole bunch less than spinning in circles buying lots of quick fixes. And out of the two of these, I'm leaning towards the Oris.